Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. I have a tool review today for two products, and they're both going to deal with installing door trim. I have my organizer here for my door install. I have a previous video a while back of how I organize my organizers by job specific in some cases. In some cases it's material, but in some cases it's jobs. And these two products I'm going to discuss today weren't in this organizer at the time of that video. And then also I've got some footage today that I'm going to show you using these two products, but you're going to notice I've got the same clothes on for my drywall screw gun video and also my how to mix mud video. And that's because I shot the footage for all three of these videos on that same day. I basically hung drywall that day, put on my tape coat, installed doors, installed trim, and then kept mudding after each coat dried until I got that done and got that sanded and primed all this weekend. So I just mostly am going to say that up front so you guys know that I own more than one set of clothes. But inside of my organizer kit, I've got two products that to me are very cheap, very affordable, but very useful in installing trim. And one of those is the Trim Buddy. It's this little bitty thing here. You can get this on Amazon for $10, and it's called a 5-in-1. So it has 5 features. I primarily just use it for one, and I'm going to show you what that is as we get into it. But let me show you all 5 of the features that come along with it. So they market this Trim Buddy as a 5-in-1. The function number 1 of it is the newer version that I put a link for. It has a level right here. So that's function number 1 for it. And again, I'll get to the last one is the one that I actually use this for, but some of these might be useful to you, so I want to make sure and share them with you. I don't know that I'd use that small of a level for wood trim because it's typically not straight, and you're only looking at, a small amount of surface here that you'd be touching. Let's see how wide this really is. So you're looking at a 2-inch by 2-inch square. But function number 1 on the new one that I'll put a link for is a level. Function 2 is it has this ruler here. So if you make a mark on something and then you want to come 3/4 of an inch off that mark, you could put that on the edge, move over 3/4 of an inch, make another mark. So there you go. On the back side, it has a 45-degree build out, or half of it is built up. And if you put this on the edge of your board, it allows you to mark a 45-degree in 2 directions. So now you have 45 here and then 45 here. So that's function number 3. Also, while you have it in that same mode, it has these scribe lines that go from 1/8 inch, see if I can get that in there, to 3/4 of an inch. So as long as you have that in that 45-degree motion, and say I put my pencil here, this is a 0.9 lead, it works perfect for this. I can put that in the 3/4, come on down that, and now I've got a 3/4 inch scribe line right there. Another part of the scribe feature is it also has some on the back side here that references different measurements from 1/8 to 1/2 inch. And what that is so if you want to say you've got a countertop and you want to lay that on something and you run it along there, you can put your pencil in here, follow that line, and then also scribe it that way too. So you got 2 different ways to scribe with that. And then the 5th function, and the one that I use primarily, is the 1/4 inch reveal right here. You got 1/4 inch on 2 sides, so you can stick this on the side of, say, your door jamb, and then you can mark that if you want a 1/4 inch reveal. And then I also do it to where, if you go up into the corner of your door jamb, you can mark 1/4 inch on both sides and then get that as far as to know what your reveal needs to be on your top trim and your bottom trim, which you can see here. I'm making my 1/4 inch reveal. Then I measure for all 3 trims, but I start with that top trim. I put my tape on 1 inch on one side. I measure over and then I subtract that inch from my measurement. So here I have 38 inches. Take off that 1 inch. My top trim inside measurement is 37 inches. So after I get my reveals marked and my measurements taken by using my Trim Buddy, the next product that I'm going to get out of my door install kit for installing trim is going to be this product called Miter Aid. You can get this off Amazon for about $21. I think it's $20 and some change. I think it's a little cheaper on rockler.com, but you're going to pay shipping. So I think if you weigh it out, it's probably going to end up costing you more there. And this is very helpful for getting perfect inside measurements for your trim, which is what I just marked with the Trim Buddy, because, you know, I could get the outside measurements of my trim to allow me to have some way to hook my tape measure on here to measure the outside of my other side, because where this is beneficial is when you're cutting that top trim and you've got a miter on this side and then you need to cut another miter on this side. Well, there's nowhere to really hook your tape for that inside measurement. So then you got to try to pull your tape out, maybe put it on the inch part right here, and then add an inch, and then there's just a risk for it not working out for you. But this miter aid is really helpful for cutting pieces with miters on each end. You want to start out by cutting the miter the same angle as this, even though you can, in certain situations, you're going to have to cut the other one first. You can just flip it upside down, but it's always easier to go ahead and cut your miter on your first cut at the same angle as what the miter aid has. And now, instead of trying to hold your tape here or taking the measurement from the outside, because it's always easier to have that inside measurement because you know exactly what that is, you clip this on, it fits right in there at the right angle. My top trim needs to be 37 inches. The tape measure fits into that hole. You move down here. Now I can easily make a mark on 37 without my tape measure moving. Now I just have to cut my angle right here. So for my left and right trim, I don't necessarily have to use the miter aid because, you know, you've got that flat surface on the end. So this one's going to be 81 1/4 on the inside miter. This one's going to be 81 1/8. I'll just get those cut and then we'll put them together and I'll get it nailed up. This is not my favorite saw, but it's definitely my most portable, and this job site was not easy to get to, and I only had 3 doors to trim out, so that's why I brought this saw into the job site and I'm basically just cutting it off the floor. Then I use CA glue to put my trim together before I even put it up. That allows you, you know, if sometimes you've got to move these 2 legs a little bit to get your reveal right, and then that spreads these apart, but if you glue them first, they always stay together. So I put CA glue. Activator, line them up. You only have to hold that for a few seconds. Now that that's set up, you see you've got it all in one piece. Now we can see my trim's going to line up with my marks. On both sides, the reveal is going to be right. So now all I have to do is nail it off. You can also use the Trim Buddy to set your reveal if you want to. You just take this, put that on your jamb, and then that holds your trim off the exact same amount as you go up. So yeah, guys, that's the Trim Buddy and the Miter Aid. Also, just an honorable mention in case you don't like 1/4 inch reveals and you want 1/8 inch reveals. This Craig jig basically does the same thing as far as your edge here, but it gives you an 1/8 inch instead of a 1/4 inch. So this works well. This is what I use if I want an 1/8 inch instead of a 1/4. But I actually use this tool more for this sliding ruler as far as for getting some measurements on things. That's a good tool as well. But I didn't want to spend time explaining that because these are the two that I just used, and I wanted to share these with you guys. Doesn't take up a lot of space, $10. A lot of bang for your buck. The fact that it just can fit on your finger there, throw it in your pocket, throw it in your little tool pouch while you're doing trim work, works great. As far as the Miter Aid, it's all plastic, but I mean, I have installed trim for I don't know how many doors with this, and I have not noticed that the spring is loosening up any. I've not had any problems with it wanting to break, but again, it depends on how you treat your tools. You know, I mean, if you just throw this around, there's a good chance that it might get damaged. But this works extremely well for me as far as for holding my tape, helping me to just use those inside measurements. To me, that's the most accurate way to cut trim because there's a lot of room for error when you start doing some math of adding and subtracting inches where you're going to end up being off some. It's just been extremely helpful to me. But as always, maybe you guys know of something else. There's all sorts of helpful trim jigs out there. So if you've got one that you use for installing trim, make sure and put that in the comments below because I'm willing to try anything if I think it's going to make me either more efficient or make my job more enjoyable. I love tools. I'm always willing to check those out. I love it whenever you guys leave me suggestions. And as always, comment with any questions and let me know if this was useful to you. Comment that below as well. Or if you think these are junk, I'm fine if you want to comment that. Let me know what you think. Hope that you guys have a blessed day and see you on the next video.